Hello and welcome to Firstpost. Today we have with us Rohan Sippy, Konkona and Surya Sharma for Search the Naina Murder Case. Just wanted to know, like, we get a hint of misogyny from you in the show. How difficult is it? Like, what a director, a male director, looking at it from that arc, how difficult it is, like what made you come up with it? Because it is difficult to take orders, I've seen, from a woman boss and a woman who is very good for many men at his work. Anybody who is good at his work, it's just, no, I know it better. What made you come up with this angle of he finding it difficult to take orders from her?
Well, a lot of credit of that goes to the writing, so it's there on paper. And I think for me, it was important that it somewhere gets resolved as well, right? As you've seen that later on, there is a rapprochement that happens. See, inherent for something to be dramatic and entertaining, you need conflict. This was already there in the material, so that gives us a great conflict. So while they are trying to solve a bigger thing, and you're wondering how they're going to solve their differences. And like you said, it's a very universal thing that you pick up on, and it's an observation that we all make. And this is because we're allowed to resolve it later on, where it's actually Surya who actually initiates their bonding later on in the series. So that for me was important, that there is a growth, that we show that he acknowledges her strengths. Maybe not at the beginning, where there's more bristling at being taking orders, but by the end of it, you see that evolves into a friendship and a partnership, which is what I think the audience is rooting for.
Which is required, for a case to solve, which is a very sensitive case.
Yeah, and it's when they work together, then they, you see that they do make breakthroughs that weren't possible when they were not on the same page and withholding from each other.
And Konkona, have you looked at it from that angle when you were working on this particular show? Like, how difficult it is for you to, I would say you were also finding it to let go of a certain thing that you had invested your time, energy and your emotions to it. So were you also finding it difficult, that's what my understanding from the show, to let go of the case and come along, move with your husband where it's been shown to?
I think that Sanyukta, my character, was finding it difficult, and I could understand, I could relate to that, and that always helps when when you have compassion and understanding and empathy for the character that you're playing. That always helps, and it's a difficult position for her to be in, where it's like she's meant to do this. She's good at this. She's meant to do it. This is her habitat, so to speak. And there's simultaneously and parallelly this conflict, because domestically and in the personal sphere, as a wife or as a mother, she's required to be doing both other things, and all of it is important. And it is difficult to strike that balance for many women, and not just women. I mean, largely women, but also I'm sure for some men also, hopefully.
And how much do you relate to the character? Because you are a mother in real life with a child who is in an impressionable age. Okay, and here also you play a mother of a 16-year-old. How much do you relate to the character, and how are the real challenges of being a mother and playing the role of a mother who's in an impressionable age?
I think, I like I said, I do relate to her challenges a lot, yeah. She has an older teenager. Mine is a slightly younger teenager, but I know what's coming. So that's great, like forewarned is forearmed, as they say, hopefully. So I do relate to that to a certain extent. I don't know if that's entirely solved. I relate to many different aspects of Sanyukta in that sense, not just the fact that she has a teenage daughter. In fact, it was easier to relate to Sanyukta than some of my other characters that I've played, because there are times when you play a character who's very removed from you. Like, what if you're playing a serial killer? Not that I am or have, but then also you have to find some point of connect. So I have to say, in this case, it was easier. Also, because there is a pre-existing format. Forbury Delsen, which is the Danish show on which this is based, has so successfully and beautifully done it that you know, and therefore, and it's been adapted so well to an Indian context that I feel like an actor has to do less work if the writer, director, everybody has already
Done their
done
job
their
well,
part
huh?
really well. It really helps.
And here, the content is a queen, not the king. This time, I'm sure. Yeah, every character plays a very important role. This is the beauty of the digital platform.
Right.
And there is no hero, heroine as such. It is more of characters who have an important role to play. What do you have to say about this, Surya?
I think this thing like OTT and digital medium has given so many opportunities for actors like me to explore and to see things differently, and वो story 2.5 घंटे में ख़त्म नहीं होती है, वो story चलती है and then उसके बाद
Exactly.
season आते हैं and then
The character also evolves.
एक आर्क मिलती है आपको and I think हर एक्टर के लिए इससे अच्छी चीज़ और कोई नहीं होगी. To find an arc and then you work for it and then you find more things while shooting or while reading, while doing workshops and yeah.
Yeah.
And when you choose your role, how do you do that? You played very different roles, whether it was in Gili Pucci, where you play a very different role, very different role. And now here, a mother. And when you direct also, your choice of stories are very different. So what is it plays in your mind when you pick up a topic that I'm going to play this, I'm going to do this?
You know, a mother to I played in one of my earliest films, Mr.
Yes,
and Mrs. Iyer.
yeah,
also.
Mr. and Mrs. Iyer.
That's, I mean, that's just part and parcel of being an actor, because you're not obviously going to play parts which are only close to you, you know.
Yeah. But what makes, how do you
I
choose?
think one major thing which really helps me is how easily I can read the script. You know, because if it's really a chore to read the script and I'm not being able to kind of get through it because it's not so well written or not very engaging, I think that's a first red flag, because it's, if I can't read it only, then it might be difficult
Because
to
you
watch.
don't, when you can't move from the first page, then
Yeah,
it's always like that for a book also, I'm sure.
You'll tell me that happens, the next script I send you.
I'll tell you. And I'm used to reading. So, one is used to reading and imagining and things like that. But even then, sometimes it's more difficult. That's one factor. How well the character is written, how much thought and care has been put into, the details of that world, of that character. I love it when my character is going through some kind of a transition. And not the same from beginning to end, so those kinds of things. The director, how well I get along with the director, can I have a rapport with them,
Can you
am I
discuss
comfortable,
things, yeah.
these kinds of things.
I'm not coming to the time bit of it because I've done it enough. And I think done an interview also with you on the shift bit of it, and how it is a motherhood penalty and fatherhood bonus or whatever.
Premium.
The premium, you mentioned this, and it became quite viral. So I just want to ask you, like, since you choose a story and here it is a woman's role which is predominating, I would say. What was the idea that came to your mind that you said that this story is going to fit in when you did the choice of your actors?
I think that evolved very naturally. I think obviously started with Konkona, and when we met and she was interested, that became the first big stone to put in place, and then built very quickly from that. Met with Surya, and I think you just feel your way through these, especially the first couple of things, and then a lot of lovely, interesting suggestions came in. Shiv came in. Shraddha did a great job, Dhruv Sehgal, and also, of course, the parents were amazing, Iravati and Sagar.
Yeah, brilliant.
So I think it was just the casting director helped us a lot by just keeping on sending a nice, palette that we could then choose from. We went through tests of some of them, and
Who's
I
the
think
casting director?
Sorry.
So sorry.
The kids did a brilliant job too.
No, I was coming to that,
Fine,
and that again was so key for us, because they are central to the tragedy, and the kind of for a lot of the audience that is older to get a little glimpse into what another generation is thinking and how they are. So it was very important to get that right. And so that was wonderful. I think a big help for them was having, more senior actors. I mean, they were fans of Coco and the teenage girls who were there. They were just like, wow,
sweet.
we're getting
So
to.
sweet.
And she just was obviously, how she is, which is, making them comfortable, rehearsing, figuring things out. And that, I think, just pushes everyone upwards, lifts all boats in that sense. We all get better because of that. So I think, touch wood, the casting ended up being a very good balance of some theatre actors, some of these younger kids, and it just kind of, Dhruv comes from a different space. So we got a lovely mix of worlds.
And the table reads, that was so
Yes.
helpful.
And that's actually, so it's a very important thing. What we started doing before each show, all the actors get together and we do a massive table read and go through all the episodes together. So I think it's just helpful. And the HODs are there as well, the director, technicians, and of course the actors. So we all get to hear it. The writers are also hearing it. The little discussions, things are clarified, and everyone feels that that's the only time you're going to actually experience it till you see the final edit. Otherwise, when you're shooting one scene from episode 1, another from the climax, then another actor's track. So once you disperse from there, you're fragmented. But it's lovely to have that moment together where you actually see people face to face, understand things, discuss things. So it's very difficult otherwise to coordinate all that and get the right spirit. So I think for me that becomes a real foundation for when we go, especially when you're doing a drama or a comedy. You need that reading time.
And you play a Haryanvi guy, right? Coming from North. So the accent, how did you learn it? Are you from that belt? Oh, that accent. But the accent is very different, right? Here.
Yeah, it is, but I studied in Chandigarh and then वहाँ पे boarding में हरियाणा, हिमाचल and पंजाब के लोग थे, तो आप इतनी बातचीत करते हो कि आपको पता चल जाता है कि क्या किस तरीके से, and I think it's our job to find the right
So you
accent.
went through some workshop or something? No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I did,
required.
but मैंने इससे पहले हरियाणवी language में काम किया है, so it was not like proper. वो कहीं ना कहीं थोड़ी
And यहाँ भी एक थोड़ी inflection चाहिए थी. It was not.
Complete तो नहीं
Yeah.
होगा because
Yeah.
he's cleared
And
IP,
we're making a
the
film,
civil
I mean,
service
we're making a show
exams.
for all of India as well. We don't, beyond
Yeah.
the point, it's more to give a little color. Like, Konkona speaks like a Bengali. who's
Bengali
living-
every now
living in
and then,
Bombay.
huh.
So little mix
Yeah.
of her history, So I think that, and finally we want to make it as accessible as we can, and just reflect it in these little touches.
Yeah.
And ये कहीं ना कहीं benefit ही करता है to find the right,
That adds more
body
colour to
language
the story,
and
more
the
texture
tone
to
of
the
the
story.
character.
Otherwise, it's very generic. So.
Yeah, so I asked Rohan's first workshop पे कि है कहाँ का, so he is like कि he's from Haryana. So जब आपने एक बार हरियाणा बोल दिया, then I
the
see
general
things
attitude,
differently.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Because
whole
I've
attitude.
And even
seen
not
Haryanvi
and not
people.
just language. It
Yeah.
is
So they
a
are-
certain
way,
body
his
language,
thought,
a certain
his thought process,
a little,
everything.
even the
Choice
body
of
language.
food
yeah.
also.
Right.
Choice of food also, that's been
Lots of food.
Lots of food has been eaten.
Yeah,
The choice of
Dabeli
food.
pav and then bada pav. Yes.
That's one of my favorite things to do with actors, and Surya did it lovely. Just the idea of eating in scenes. I think it's something that just I love it, and I think it's also one thing you can't fake, right? A lot of
Yeah.
acting is faked, but eating you cannot
Yeah,
fake.
this,
I mean,
this
you
makes
don't-
it a pleasant
There were
and
different kinds of
realistic
eating.
watch.
Yeah, different, and you're just actually watching someone actually do what he's acting as, right?
So imagine me starting with chole bhature and
And then
ending up with dabeli pav.
Yeah, see,
The
that's
baby.
the evolution of the Mumbaikar is starting
Yeah.
inside him.
Coming into it. And parenting as a job can be really taxing and exhausting, as you once mentioned just before. How do you find, as a young mother, how do
Young? I don't know.
whatever,
Okay.
as a mother,
As a mother.
what would your, I won't say advice or gyan, but how do you navigate through it, which is going to be helpful for mothers with impressionable age, and the internet as an hindrance?
Yeah, yeah. And I think that it would be lovely to ask Rohan the same question,
Yes.
because he has a daughter of a similar age, and we must always ask parenting questions to men and women who are parents. It's a tricky thing, and I think that one can do it in many different ways, and there is no right or wrong way as such. It's also something that it's a constantly shifting thing, because your child is growing, so one has to be one has to constantly adapt to like the level of understanding, how much they're interacting with the world, those kinds of things. I think we kind of addressed this earlier when we were saying we're letting them out into the real world slowly, and how many restrictions can you keep? So I think building a bond, a connection, and a level of trust if one can have. So that, you know, because how much can you do surveillance? Surveillance itself is not an answer.
And then at certain point you need to trust your child.
Yeah.
So never check on your messages. Like my husband said, never check on the messages of your kid. Never do that, because that
violates the trust.
Violates the trust. So what do you have to say about this as you are a parent? So
no, I think it's like Coco said, every day is a challenge, and you try to learn. But one of the guiding principles I want is finally, what do I want her to be other than anything is to learn agency and independence, right? So that involves letting go and trying to be there. You know, there is no answer to it other than going at it every day and just reflecting. You know, trying to do better and trying to instill as much of the things that you think are important, which for me is getting them to be independent in their thinking and taking care of themselves. And for me, that's the number one thing. I as a big goal, I would want to make sure that they are confident on being out in the world, because that's finally where they're going to be. So I think the other stuff we have to just keep negotiating. And every kid has such a different personality. It's changing now. We're both dealing with the teenagers. You know, there's going to be changes in their body, mind, thinking, socialization, all of that's going on. And I remember what it was for us, like in much simpler times in that sense. We didn't have the old digital world, you know, to amplify things. I mean, of course, all the inherent things of teenagers doesn't change that much, but
there's
I think
an information overdose also.
Yeah, but inherently still there's you have cruelty, you have all those dynamics that play out, you know, but you also have better communication happening now, more awareness of those things. So I think we take the good and the bad of this information overload. Yeah.
And you once mentioned also in the show that strict parents generally keep kids keep hiding, and that was your idea. What was it like?
No, I wouldn't take credit from the writers, but it resonated, I think, with all of us now. Surya doesn't have to worry about it yet. But the other theme in this thing of parenting that comes up and now applies to all three of us is what Sayukta is dealing with in the show. She's not just a mother; she's also a daughter. You know, so this is that age, you know, where you are grappling both of them, which also adds to.
And the mother has its own demands, set of demands.
So, but I think that's wonderfully fills out a character. It fills out a character very beautifully, because you're seeing her playing.
And makes more realistic.
Yeah.
Like at a certain age, there's a tug of war, being a mother to both sides, actually.
Exactly. So that also was a nice dimension that we managed to retain in this.
It's beautifully written.
Interesting how we look at grandparents often only as caretakers and not individuals in their own right.
Yeah.
But anyway, another time we must have this conversation also.
Yes, we should. And another thing I wanted to ask, this is my last question to you, Konkona. How much is ageism real in Bollywood or the entertainment industry as such?
बहुत ही simple सी answer है.
है क्या?
There is so much ageism.
See,
for a woman.
It is. There is a lot of ageism, which is why I brought up the grandparent angle as well. And even within the grandparents, it's the grandmom more. So, I think that if nothing, it just kind of limits the viewing of a human being when you see them only limited to one role, right, or one identity. It's important to look at human beings in, as outside of their roles, just as a mother, just as a father, just as a parent, just as an Indian, just as a Hindu, just as a whatever, as a young person, old person, right? We have many different identities. All of us are always juggling different, not juggling, it's an amalgamation of different identities. So let's not limit.
Thank you so much for your time. It was
Thank
great
you.
talking to all of you. It's a brilliant show. I'm sure it's going to do really well.
10th October.
Yeah.
Jio Hotstar.
Want the facts?
The latest developments?
News that gets straight to the point.
Well, we've got all three just for you. This is Firstpost Live, a brand new show, your window into what really matters.
Don't miss it.